Um, Next up is Sisterhood of Sustainable Entrepreneurship. We have Pallavi Srivastava and Maggie Inbamutaya. If I can please have them over on the stage. And for sitting at the back, it's a good time to come in front. You have the cooler. It's definitely less warmer now. How many of you are entrepreneurs sitting here in the audience? Any entrepreneurs? Anyone wanting to be an entrepreneur? Okay, come and sit in front then. This is going to be a great session. Yeah, we have 2 chairs. Please give a huge round of applause for Maggie and Pallavi. Pallavi is the founder of Our Better Planet, and Maggie is a co-founder of Sangatna Angels. Mike. You're here only.
Good afternoon, everyone.
We'll do picture before you leave.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good to see you all here. How many of you are entrepreneurs? How many of you want to be entrepreneurs? And how many of you are into sustainable living?
Trying our best. Trying.
Right. Do you think it's time for sustainability?
Yes.
Then we should need this conversation. So, a quick intro. Pallavi, you go first.
Hi, I'm Pallavi. I have worked in the IT space for about 12 years and then moved out to do something on my own. I am the founder of an e-commerce marketplace which curates better products. So I don't use sustainability as a too much now because people have started getting wary of it. So these are better products. They are made better. They are, I see Kusum here, and so they're made better. They are better for the planet. They're better for us. So that's what we curate at Our Better Planet. We try to attack better products from all sides. So we also curate physical interventions, and that's what I do. I'm very excited to be here and speak to all of you and shed a little bit from my experience.
Yeah, 4 o'clock.
And I'm Maragatavalli. Originally a techie, last 7 years I've been working in the impact space. My career in social impact started with Anita Bog, started with working in GHCI in 2017. I've been a serial social entrepreneur, you might say. I worked in addressing the language barrier we have in this country, where English becomes a barrier for people to access STEM. I have worked on sustainable fashion for some time. I run a trekking venture to introduce people to nature called Happy Feet. We take people and introduce them to the hillsides. I founded Sangatna Angels recently, and we are working to get women mainly, but we welcome men also, to invest into women-run businesses, especially tech and social enterprises. So that's the objective of Sangatna. And I work with the Nudge Institute, which I'm not sure how many of you have heard about. Their objective is to alleviate poverty from India within our lifetime. So yeah, these are some of the causes I work in. So that's a quick intro. So Pallavi, what made you start Our Better Planet, and why do you think we need enterprises like yours in today's world?
So I was living in the US for a very long period of time, and the clarity of information available with products that you buy from there is usually more. I mean, when I moved back to India in 2014, I had a young child, and to source everything for her of an organic nature or of a homemade nature, I was forced to resort to WhatsApp or to, directly connect with people who were making small batches of different things. I'm talking about lotions, about bedspreads, about, ragi malt, those kind of things. So I just started thinking about this aggregator space that would actually bring these businesses together And these are the kind of products that almost everybody needs, but we don't find them on aisles of the usual stores that we go to. So that was the intent behind starting off Our Better Planet. The idea is to bring homegrown labels and give them more visibility. The product has to be vetted and researched before. So that's the back-end work that we are doing for these brands and trying to create visibility for them and make these products available to the consumer base.
Thanks, Pallavi. For me, it really was, trying to do work that means something to the planet, to the community we live in. Oftentimes, we go in and we do something at work, especially as a techie, while I absolutely love the tech side of things. Sometimes it feels like, what is the real impact? Who am I really reaching with this? And then we come back to, especially in India, I come back to a different world. One of my interesting stories I like to tell is I started my career in Infosys and I went back home. My aunt asked me, this is way back in the 90s, huh? That tells you how old I am. So computers were just, the IT careers were just starting. Went back and she asked me, what do you do for a job? I said, I work in software. What is software? It's a computer. What's a computer? So like, it's a machine, you put things in. Oh, you are an accountant. I said, yeah, that's what I am. So, so somewhere in the cloud, we keep doing something, right? And what does it really mean to the world? And when I started down the path, I also realized it's very difficult to get investments, get a particular business going, because our entire business world is tuned towards capitalism. You go there, you make a lot of money. There is so much emphasis on hustling and making money. The slow life where you look at what really matters. I mean, today who has time to put sheka in their hair, wait for half an hour and wash? We want a quick shampoo, come out and keep going, right? That's the kind of world we are all living in. And how do you make that transition? And if someone wants to make the transition, what kind of support can we give? Is where my journey is. I think that brings us to the next part as to, let's talk about our journeys. How has it been for you?
Yeah, so far we've been able to bring in brands who are not only brands or businesses who are not only trying to innovate in the space, but who have been actually working with the right people behind, or who are working with the right kind of materials. So that's the intent. The basic idea is to create more and more visibility. As long as once people start really experiencing these products or this way of living, then it becomes really easy to adopt. And there's no better way than to really live it yourself. So,
but what I'm talking about the role of, the idea is good. We all know this is the thing that needs to be done. But then it's so hard to do, right? So hard to
it's actually
set
not,
this up. And
yeah, it's actually not, but yeah, it's actually going back to your roots. So a lot of things, just like how you're talking about shikakai. I mean, I know it's a significant investment of time to even go and to source shikakai also. It's like there are a couple of places who will actually be able to give you the right and the genuine product. So that's but the thought has to be built in. I mean, I'm not saying everybody should start using it from day one, but are you really actually looking out to not contribute to that plastic bottle and to contribute to something which is actually coming from the earth? So that thought is all that we are looking out for right now, because I don't think we are beyond that. And which is something which I find there's a lot of talk about everything, but then there's no acceptance of these products or these practices. So even thought-wise, we are just in the air right now.
we are not there yet, is what you're saying.
No, not even close.
And does it compound the complexity? Does it become bigger because we are women entrepreneurs?
Of course, yeah, it does.
What are some challenges you think women entrepreneurs face?
I mean, not particularly in this space, but then there are endless challenges that women entrepreneurs face. I mean, in my space, if I talk about smaller businesses, there are a lot of, I'm not talking about hobbies, I'm talking about brands. So there are a lot of people who work with hobbies and they think that this is a business or this is a brand. I'm talking about brands. So there are a lot of D2C brands who are doing great work, but then it becomes very difficult to really get the right kind of investments, the right kind of information to take that business forward. A lot of them I see closing down, doing some really great work, but they're not really able to go from that hobby to that brand level. So there are a lot of challenges in I think how we have also been told that this is how conventionally business is done. So a certain revenue stream coming in from at a certain point in time. But these businesses are slow. Like you're talking about slow life, there's a lot that people need to first look at, accept, and then kind of start adopting.
That's great. So that's called patience capital, which is a important term when it comes to working with social enterprises. Even if we don't talk about social, what we have seen in terms of data is out of all the funding that happens, in all the startup funding we hear about, 2% is what goes into women-run enterprises. So this very less amount of funding goes to women-run enterprises. And now that, with Sangatna, I've seen some of the back end, what goes on is couple of places where the challenges come. One is, I see that a lot of women entrepreneurs really struggle with the marketing part of it. This probably, the correlation I would say is a lot of you would have heard how women are not as great in negotiating when it comes to salaries and careers. Very similarly, that the same thing about really talking about your brand so much all the time and building the story. This is not the forte. Women are typically about putting their head down, building the product and doing the work and not necessarily building that brand, which sometimes becomes important for securing investments. The second is when you're talking about a social enterprise, I still have struggle when we speak to investors. They're like, what is my return on investment? How many percentage I would get? And I want to tell them, you want to look at returns in a different way when it comes to these enterprises. Because in these businesses, the return is not probably for you in 3 months' time, but for your future generation. You're leaving a better planet behind. Can we start looking at the work and the money we put in from that kind of a long-term perspective, rather than, am I going to get an interest in 6 months? So, that's one of the challenges I see. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I said, it's not for quick bucks. And it's, so a lot of these brands also stay away from a lot of investment which will help them grow, because you have to show a certain trajectory once you have taken money in. I mean, I've been talking to these people and I've been connected for some time to be completely assured that it is a different trajectory that you have to go on if you kind of have money coming in. So, so there are a lot of restrictions around it. I would really want to understand from the audience if they have any questions about what we've discussed so far or anything else that they want to know, because this is just such a vast area of... did you have anything else to add?
I have a question to Maggie. Maggie, you mentioned that you started with sustainable fashion. So, can you discuss more about this? Because now we live in an era of fast fashion where everything is changing. I wanted to know more about what did you work on.
So, fashion industry is the second biggest polluter after oil and gas. It was a revelation for me when I started. I didn't know it was that big. And of course, because of fast fashion, what we worked on is we started building a community of people who were investing into creating sustainable materials, using sustainable materials for fashion. But my personal take is it all starts with reducing. First of all, we need to reduce the amount of clothes we use. It has to start from there. And then we source the right material. We don't wear microfibers, microplastics. Most of our clothes today have microplastics. We have to look at what is good for the earth, good for the climate, good for our bodies, and look at recycling. So we were just building a community of people in all of these things, people who are canvassing for reducing consumption, people who are producing and selling organic and, earth-friendly materials, waste management, recycling. What we found was very similar stories. The brands, there are some brands like Tamarind Chutney, No Nasties, who are creating such kind of clothing, but they stand nowhere in comparison to a H&M or Zara when it comes to the marketing muscle, putting things out there, getting their name across to people. The awareness part was hugely, hugely missing. So in that sense, I kind of agree with what Pallavi says about even in the thinking, we are not there. We don't know what is good and how to go look for it. That is still a huge challenge. And we need communities. That's probably the only other thing I want to say is this kind of a work cannot happen in isolation. The community should have people who are creating sustainable businesses, plus customers who are, invested in leaving a better planet behind. It's such kind of communities which can actually make these businesses work.
Yeah, we can take one more question.
Hey, thanks for sharing your insights. One thing I think about, right, I'm a big fan of this recyclable things and organic clothing, using less and all of those stuff. But yes, from a consumer perspective, right, is it affordable to everyone? Because I think that when we solve that problem, right, we can create bigger communities.
Do you want to start? And then I'll add. Yeah.
Yeah, affordability is definitely an issue, but then it doesn't stop you from thinking in the right direction or starting your sustainability journey. So I'm not asking you to move to sustainable fashion and stop buying from an H&M or from wherever else you shop from, Zudio for that matter nowadays. But I'm just suggesting that if you're looking to buy maybe 5 over a year, you start looking at 1 as an investment piece. I know this is not a topic to start with, your sustainability journey, but there are very small things that we can think about. At least start using what we have at home before thinking of buying something new. Or looking at upcycling. Recycling is, again, not a very sustainable option. It again, takes up a lot of energy. We talk about, too much about recycling to make it very conversationally easy, but upcycling is the way to go. So there are, there are many small things. Water consumption, electricity consumption, like coming here, taking a metro versus taking a car. Convenience is something that as human beings we all prioritize, and then when we come to a certain stage of life, we feel that, okay, yeah, we rightfully, we can use everything that's convenient to us. So, small changes. I really don't see sustainable products becoming affordable very quickly. The other reason why they are not going to be affordable is because the adoption is very low. So a small business that is selling sustainable fashion is making maybe 100 pieces over a year as compared to a mass-produced brand that's making like thousands and thousands of pieces. So you can do the math yourself and you'll know that it doesn't work out. So affordability is going to be slow, but then the more and more we talk about it, we adopt, I think it's just going to help the entire process.
So I have a slightly radical take. Affordability is also, all what she said is true, and that's a easier way to slide into it. But affordability is also how we look at it. Like if you buy a well-made, good quality piece, Kanjivaram lasts much longer than a 200 rupee saree you would buy, right? So you will need lesser number of pieces compared to buying a lot more of fast fashion. From my personal life, have changed to a lot of sustainable living, for instance. For instance, I don't buy any of those moisturizer bottles, which cost what, 250, 300 bucks for 200 ml. So I use either coconut or sesame oil. It costs the same for me. Just by replacing that, I've just moved degrees, so there's no chemicals getting on my skin at all. And I'm using something I know where it is sourced and how it is coming from. Even if I buy the cold-pressed variety, it is still not going to be more expensive than the moisturizer bottles I get in the market. So knowing your options, a lot of the times we don't do it because we don't know the options. Once you know the options, you can decide which one is within your range. And then second is, less is more when it comes to sustainability. That is the other mentality. If we want to have 50 different pieces of clothing, yes, it is not affordable. But maybe 20 is good enough. Can we think like that? Then it's a different game we're talking about altogether. And the long term, maybe for me today taking a cab could be convenient, but what is the carbon footprint I'm leaving on the world? So, yeah, can we afford not to have Earth? We can't. Right target group?
So as a brand, when you're trying to cater to a certain group of customers, how do you find the right customer base that you're targeting, the target market group that you're trying to cater to, and find the correct price point for them? So that's always the juggle as a brand fair, right? So
Yeah,
how do you figure that?
That's a, I think that's the most difficult question to answer because there's no right, I mean, first of all, just to wrap that up, I would say just that intent to even think in the right direction is very required. And then to answer your question, that's really, really difficult. You have to do a lot of trial and errors because as a platform which curates fashion as well as accessories, gifting products, kids products, food, along with home decor and living, we have about 300 plus brands selling through us. But I don't think we have been able to really do justice in making them meet their customer base so far. Even through the markets that we curate where physically where people walk in, that's the biggest pain point because 70% of the people who walk in, they have no clue of what's going on inside. Our markets are called conscious souk, but even then people walk in without having any sense of or any consciousness about, they've not started thinking. Everybody is conscious, but they've not started really prioritizing that yet. So it's a lot of trial and error. I think the market is actually changing. There's a lot of talk about it, and we should support and use these opportunities to, maybe talk a little bit more. Maybe 1% of the audience will get kicked to understand or maybe go back and really, read up on it or watch a documentary or whatever else. But I think that's all that we can do right now. There's no other way to really go out and shake people up and tell them that, please get up and there's a lot of damage done, let's do something. So that's all that I can think about.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, awareness. I think, and that awareness to the people who have the intent is at least right now. Because if you don't have the intent, then it's a long story. I mean, I don't think I'm going to see that in my lifetime. So.
Hi. So first of all, thank you both of you for sharing all the wonderful insights. So question on a different line of like the current number of women entrepreneurs that we have. And somebody mentioned that people have a tendency to not be able to sell themselves because we have a tendency to just keep our head down and continue working. So the number of women entrepreneurs have been less because of different reasons across the generations, like starting from less exposure, less being independent, to maybe family reasons. Some have to take care of their family, some are pressured to start a family and all of those multiple things. Some are just stuck in the corporate ladder. So picking a specific case of people who are stuck in the corporate ladder, more often than not, they might not be able to start something of their own because of, again, multiple reasons. The necessity to be financially independent, less risk appetite, their time being diverted between family and work and all of this. So they don't have that much mental and time bandwidth to think of starting something of their own and all sorts of things. So how do you see the change happening of, more women emerging as entrepreneurs, fighting multiple frictions that they may face?
So that's what we're trying to solve as Sangatna, to be honest. What we see is most of the times they lack support more than anything else. They typically have a very good idea, bright idea. They know the product. They know what kind of product they want to create. The support is needed in multiple fronts. One is managing this work-life balance. Maybe they need support at home to encourage them. They need capital. Raising capital becomes an issue. So if we can get them the capital, if we can get them the support from other other peer-to-peer or mentor-wise support, both in terms of marketing as well as just walking the journey, saying that you're not alone. We have seen that even these make a lot of difference in a woman entrepreneur's confidence to stay the course. Because one thing women entrepreneurs have in terms of strengths, or rather two, they have very great financial acumen. I've hardly seen women entrepreneurs burn money. They're very good about it. They're very good about the ROI. They know how much to put and how much to take. And they have the patience and the resilience to stay the course. These are two strengths that work in the favor of women entrepreneurs. What we need to build is a networking community for them, because networking is where many of us suffer. The moment there are times in our life where we have to prioritize home, and the moment we start doing it, we lose our professional network. It takes time to get back into professional networks. It's like a seesaw we are going through in all our lives. So if these kind of forums, like, Anita Bog, Grace Hopper Conference, or Sangatna, these are all forums where we are working towards building this kind of a network and community for women. That's what I think is a solution.
Thank you.
Thank you. Last, okay. Last question. I'm really sorry.
So first of all, thank you so much for the awesome talk. So I would like to know, because both of you are working in social enterprises, and you're always checking the customer data, as in, have you noticed any generational shift in the demographics of of your customers, whether like the younger generation, they are preferring more sustainable products as to their parents? Because I know for me personally in my family, it took me so long for me to convince my father to turn off the tap when he's like maybe brushing, and then it just frustrates me so much. But he has learned, so that's good. But I feel like I might be biased because this is my generation. I'm probably being a little protective, but I feel like we are trying our best to be more sustainable, but I would say you both might have much better insights on this because you're on the other end of things. So, yeah, have you noticed any insights on this?
Yeah, I mean, the Gen Z and Alpha, I think Alpha is yet to get to the shopping stage, but Gen Z is definitely very conscious, very mindfully conscious. They are not really preaching the same way that probably we did. They have very different ways of going out there and speaking their mind. I think the Gen Z is really different because they actually act. We used to do a lot of talking, but the action was missing. So that's very helpful. And I see a lot of consciousness. I think even on social media-wise, they are very clear when they talk. So if there's a certain cause that they want to support, then they go for it and they kind of stick to it, because as far as I'm concerned, or my generation, I'm again similar times, there was too much happening. So I used to lose track. I mean, I do that even now. But I think people of your generation, they are very clear and they are very sorted, and they know that, okay, yeah, this is what I believe in. I will go for it, and I will make sure that this happens this way, which is very promising and good to see. I mean, that's my observation in my interactions or with my kids that I can talk about. Yeah.
I'll say a quick thing in close. So I grew up on hand-me-downs, so my parents were definitely conscious. My kids do it on Instagram, so they're the other side. I think maybe my generation is what messed it up. Probably, I'll just run that up. So, yeah. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for being there and all the questions. Loved it.
Thank you so much. I just close with, I think there's this quote that says that we have not inherited the earth from our forefathers. We have borrowed it from our children. So it is our duty to leave it with a space that they can use it the way it's meant to be. So thank you, Maggie and Pallavi, for your time and effort at this.